Hi.
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, opening the blinds. Nice sunset tonight. But it's a nice sunset every night, isn't it? Every night that we're alive is a nice sunset. That's what I say, and that's what I hope you say too. I like Albuquerque. I like New Mexico. I think it's cool. I like the mountains. It's like desert mountains, which I think is a cool combo. It's nice here. But also, there are a lot of, I don't know. I thought I saw a guy with like a paintball gun running across the street. I saw a bunch of homeless people. There's a whole train of shopping carts. One guy had. He had like a train of 3 shopping carts filled to the brim that he was pulling with him. So he's committed to whatever is going on there. Even when I went in the gas station, when I checked out and I left, the gas station attendant was like, "Be safe." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, thank you. I don't know. There's a lot of Native Americans or Native American Indian. From what I've seen, I think, like, I mean, obviously the tribe name is preferred. But if you're not going to use the real tribe name, which I don't know, then I've been told American Indian is the term to use because they're like, that's the term the white people gave us, so that's what you call us. Which is a pretty good point. You know? It's like, yeah, they're Native Americans, but they're... I don't know, like also just kind of lumps them all together. Same with American Indian. And it's like they were all very distinct tribes with very distinct cultures. So I think it's cool seeing different regions acknowledge that, you know, a little late now, but at least it's something. Like acknowledging the tribe names and the land and saying this land used to belong to this tribe and till we stole it. And... but at least we're acknowledging it. I don't know. It definitely needs to be more put into that, other than just acknowledgement. But you know, there's a lot of problems. I mean, obviously within that community, you know, there's these reservations, and you know, alcoholism is a very big problem. I learned that in my health class, so I'm not. You know, I haven't been like in those communities, so I can't really speak to it because I haven't spoken to people that actually know about that subject. But from what I've read, yeah, it's like pretty tough when, you know, white people just come over and we're like, "Hey, this is ours now, so you can live here, and we'll give you some things sometimes, maybe if you want them, but not really. The world's pretty messed up." But, again, that's not what these sunset talks are about. These sunset talks are about positivity and living in a way that makes you want to live, you know? It's nice seeing sunset over the mountains. The desert mountains look, like I said, looks pretty. I like it. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to living out here. It's a drier climate, which is nice for the heat because the humidity is not my friend because I'm a sweaty boy. No matter where I go, no matter where I am, I'm sweating. So I might as well be somewhere where my sweat can actually evaporate. And evaporative cooling can take effect, which is the point of us sweating. For all those science people out there. When your body sweats, the reason we sweat is because the sweat's supposed to evaporate, and when it evaporates, it takes, you know, thermal energy with it, 'cause it you know, takes energy to evaporate, and it takes that energy from your body, which cools you down. But when it's super humid, that sweat doesn't want to evaporate because there's a lot of humidity, a lot of water in the air already, and when, you know, the properties of diffusion, things go from a higher concentration to a lower concentration, and if the air concentration of water molecules is higher or equal to or just only a little bit less than your the water on your skin, your sweat, then your sweat's just going to stay where it is. It's not going to evaporate. It's not going to diffuse. At least that's my understanding of the subject based on my limited knowledge on the subject. Just thought I'd share that with y'all because I love science. Can you hear that? That is the refrigerator in my room. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's driving me crazy. But not crazy enough to complain, because I'm not one of those people. I've never complained to a hotel staff in my life. I don't know. I think that's just part of, I don't know. It's just part of my personality. Definitely got that from my dad of just like, just deal with it. Like, instead of putting energy into something, I can save that energy by just dealing with it myself, and but over time then you're doing a lot of damage to yourself. And again, I'm not just talking about complaining in hotels. I just mean you can't always put other people first. You can't always be okay with being taken advantage of and shit on, Pardon my language. But like you can't please everyone. My fellow people pleasers know what I'm talking about. You can't just always think of everyone else's needs before your own, because that leaves you empty and depleted. And especially in romantic relationships, if one person's a person pleaser and the other person is a person that wants to be pleased, then it can be a very one-sided relationship that can leave one party drained and the other party being like, this is great, because they do whatever I want them to do. And I have been in that situation before. And I'm starting to realize, how important family maybe is to me. And, my immediate family, my parents and my younger brother are in St. Louis, so it makes sense to go there. I say that a lot. I always say makes sense too, because I'm all about doing what's sensible, what's logical, and trying to live more about not just like my desires, because that's short term, kind of thinking, but being okay with taking risks and doing things that may not make sense, but it's a leap of, hey, I believe in myself and I think I can do this, and yeah, I don't know. It's hard to believe in myself sometimes. It's not that it's not like I think little. Oh, maybe I do think little of myself. I don't know. I think like I've failed at so many things in life. Like, I'm not good at most things. But then I've come to realize I'm not good at most things because I never stuck with anything. Because I always gave up when it got hard. Because I was like, oh, I'm not good at this, so I stopped. Because I just wanted to be good at something. Or it was like, oh, this requires a lot of energy from me, and I don't have energy to devote to this because I'm trying to use that energy to just fit in and be a normal kid. And that's called masking. It's an autistic term. But like, I spent so much energy just being around people was so draining. And so I don't know, maybe that was part of it, but another part of it was just like, I just gave up because I could. Like, my parents really never pushed me too much. Or when they wanted me to try things, I would try them, but then be like, no, I don't like it. And they'd be like, okay. Which is, they were trying to do the right thing. And like at the time, I was appreciated it because I didn't want them to push me to do anything. But now I'm like, well, I don't know. Kind of wish I stuck with it a little more. Or anything. Stuck with piano. Stuck with drums. I don't know, just stuck with anything. Because I just don't want to be so traumatized by fear that I never push myself to achieve greatness in whatever it is, Like academics, I was like, oh, I can figure this out to do good in academics. But then it just got so exhausting that it was just like, I did the minimum to get the grades I needed to keep going. And did the minimum amount of studying, because studying was very hard for me, because reading is very hard for me. Probably because I have ADHD that's undiagnosed, but I don't really know. I can't focus when I read something. Like, it'll take me so long just to read one page, because I keep getting distracted, or I'll misread a word and have to go back, and sometimes I'm like, that sentence didn't make sense. I'm like, oh, I lost my place in the page. I skipped a sentence, or I don't know. So now that I've switched to audiobooks, it's a lot better, because I'm like, oh, audiobooks, I can actually listen to something, especially when I'm driving. Audiobooks are great, because it's like, I have to focus on driving, so that's where my ADHD brain is focused, and then I can listen to the audio. Like, I had to ask myself the other day, what am I good at? I know what I'm not good at. What am I good at? Getting a peek into how scattered my brain is, because I feel like I've talked about so many different things, but hopefully you're following along, mysterious stranger that is watching this video. I don't know, I like looking at sunsets because it just reminds me how I like sunrises more, but then I gotta get up early and I like sleeping. I don't know, it helps remind me that the world's gonna keep going. Sun's gonna rise, sun's gonna set. It's gonna keep going. It's gonna be fine. I don't want to be so stuck in the fear of, what might happen, and trying to calculate the odds of misfortune, which I feel like I used to spend a lot of energy doing, and being like, well, if there's a chance that this would cause me some discomfort, I'm just going to avoid it altogether, whether that's a social interaction or that's trying a new skill that I'm not good at, which, then I learned no one is good at anything until they do it a lot, Like, no one's just naturally amazing at something, for the most part anyway. But, so I started thinking, what am I good at? I think a lot. I'm a very deep thinker because I'm just constantly overthinking everything. And that has led me to some wild mental pathways that weren't always good. You can overthink yourself into false beliefs. Even if someone says oh, the sky is red, and you're like, well, yeah, I guess maybe it is red and we just can't see because the red wavelengths, maybe it's there's a visible light spectrum that only we can see, and it's infrared is below that and ultraviolet's above that, and so it's well, maybe it's infrared, and maybe if we had infrared vision, we'd actually see the sky actually is red. See, look, I actually I just overthink for real, oh, maybe the sky is red, and I use that overthinking and logic to justify a lot of my beliefs in the past. A lot with Christianity, specifically, of if something in the Bible didn't make sense, I was like, oh, well, there's a reason it doesn't make sense. There's, let me read this apologetics. Let me read the study Bible. Like, let me look into it. Let me talk to pastors. And eventually, once I did all that, it was like, okay, I can kind of see how this makes sense. And it's about the context. And if you go back to the original Greek or the original Hebrew, you look at it, maybe this word meant this instead, and we think it means this. So it's just translated poorly. And, if you look at the time periods, well, it's like, well, yeah, at the time it was very important that this happened, but so that's why it says it, but that doesn't apply anymore. But I don't know, it became like, I think in a book I've read called Why I Believed by Kenneth Daniels, I think. He was a former missionary who was translating the Bible. It's like super into the Bible. And he's now an atheist, and he wrote a book about his, deconstruction of his faith and change and all that. And that was like one of the first steps that helped me start to get on the path to where I'm now agnostic, which, if you're a Christian and listening to that, may make you want to avoid that book. But if your faith really is strong, and then you should read challenges to it. Because if it is true, then it'll hold up. That's what I always believed. Like, if it is true, it will hold up. And I believed for 28 years of my life that, well, I mean, maybe not 28, because when I was a baby, I didn't really believe anything. I just wanted to eat graham crackers or whatever. But for a long time, for many years, I believed that was the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father except through. See, look, I can't remember it now. I know John 3:16 though. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life, or eternal life, whichever. Depends on the translation. But point is, when something challenged my faith, I just assumed there was a logical reason behind it, even if I didn't know what it was. So like when I talked to someone who's an atheist, or just anyone that was challenging my Christian beliefs, I'd be like, well, yeah, it does make sense. I just don't know how to explain it. And then I'd be like, let me find someone who does know how to explain it. And then I'd, the Google search or whatever. And when you Google search for Christian authors or, apologetics, which apologetics is just Christian authors defending the faith. I think I'm using that correctly. Of course, they're going to come to the conclusion that it's real because they're Christian. Otherwise, they wouldn't be defending the Bible passage. So when you look up defenses of a Bible passage, it's going to come to the conclusion that it's legitimate no matter what, because that's the whole point of them writing that. Otherwise, the article would be titled like, oh, this doesn't make sense, and why you shouldn't believe the Bible is trustworthy, and da-da-da-da-da. Point is, don't be afraid to challenge your faith. I think don't be afraid to challenge anything, any belief, not just religious, but scientific as well, The whole part I love about science is that it's ever growing and ever changing, and that like things we believed for so long, when new evidence is presented, we can go, oh, let's look into that, and then study that more and realize, oh, we were wrong the whole time about this, and grow and start there's scientific facts are very difficult to come by because they, science often is evolving and can disprove things that were previous facts. Like how is a fact that the earth was the center of the universe and the sun revolved around the earth? Because that makes sense. I mean, just look at the sky. The sun is going around us. You can see it. And then we got, we built technology, and We didn't even have modern technology. He was like an ancient guy that was like, actually, that's kind of bullshit. Like, I think we revolve around the sun. And then the church, I believe the Christian church, was like, yeah, we can't have you saying that. We're gonna murder you. It might not be exactly right, but it was something like that. A lot of scientific thinkers. I think that was part of the Middle Ages, was like where religion suppressed scientific growth. And then the Renaissance was it all coming back and us being like, oh yeah, this is great. And I don't know. I'm afraid we're heading into the Middle Ages in the United States right now. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are basing, policies, governmental policies, and all kinds of things off of their religious beliefs, which is a very scary precedent. Because, that's like what ISIS did. So, ISIS, like the people that all the Christians were so, against and hated and everything, they were all about an Islamic state. A place where Islam was the rule of law. And we're like, well, that's horrible because Islam, it's got to be for the people. And then here people are like, we're a Christian nation and we'd have Christian principles. And it's like, what does that mean, Christian nation? Because we were founded by Protestants. We were founded by a lot of like Protestant puritanical weirdos. So I wouldn't be proud of that. I mean, like, we were founded by people that thought when women menstruated they should be locked in a cage, and if a woman worked, that meant she was a witch, and we burned her alive for it. Because that's not cool. Like, that's not good. I hope people know that, or remember that. Oh, man, I don't even... What was I talking about? And that's how my brain works. My thoughts just keep rapidly firing, and then I forget what the original thought was, because it's like next thought. And then, it can be hard to remember things. Sun's pretty much set here. Let's get away from my spiraling thoughts for a second and go back to peace, and that it's okay to take risks in life, and it's okay to challenge your previous beliefs, and there's no need to be entrenched just because you're afraid of being wrong or you're scared of being in the unknown, because the unknown has terrified me my whole life, and now I'm in one of the biggest unknown times of my life, where it's like, I don't have a job right now. I'm just still discovering things about myself, still discovering things about what I believe about the universe and spirituality and everything. I don't know if there is something beyond the physical or not, It's something that we'll never know because we can't measure it. And our emotions, our emotions and feelings and everything that we attribute to a soul, is that just chemical things in our brain that are designed for us to bond with each other and everything, or is it something more than that? And I don't have the answer. But, I'm open to it. I'm open to something beyond the physical world. I think that'd be cool. But I don't know what it is. But, I'm open to it. So, I'm just gonna try to live my life in a decent way. And I keep saying that, but then I just ate a crap ton of McDonald's, so I'm not treating myself very well. It's like, again, all these short-term pleasures, but long-term detriments. feel like my whole life I've just been searching, like I've just been chasing all these short-term things that feel good. I think a lot of people do that, so addiction happens, and I do think I am addicted to food, and food that's not good for me because it makes me feel good. And before that, it was like, yeah, I'll eat healthy a little bit, but, I'm working on my mental health, so I can work on my physical health later. And it's all tied together, amigos. It's all tied together. Mental and physical health. Yeah, I'm learning to love myself, and I'm learning to, I never really wanted to better myself because the last few years I've been okay with not bettering myself because I didn't love myself. So I was like, well, I can punish this body. I don't care. It's just a silly way to think. Start using silly more because I don't like using stupid and I don't like using crazy. I like silly. That's silly. It's not serious. It's silly. It's dark in my room. It's okay to want to improve yourself, but it's also more important to love yourself. Improvement is good. Self-love is better. Let's end on that. Bye. Good night. I love you.